Hey everybody, it's Mark Dolfini, Landlord Coach. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I want to teach you something related to a cash flow analysis, but one specific line item on the cash flow analysis that I see many people have no clue what they're doing, and including me for a long time until I actually stopped and thought about it, and that's capital expenditure. That line on there that's called CAPEX, that no one really knows what to do with that. Well, today we're going to talk about CAPEX. Okay, so here we go. If you look at your screen, I'm going to show you the way that you should be calculating capital expenditure. No one does this right. Everybody just kind of says, throw in 10% for CAPEX. They don't even really know what that means. CAPEX really is short for capital expenditures, and a capital expenditure project would be something that might be, a big ticket item. So think of, like, if I'm a residential guy, so I'm going to talk in residential terms. What are the big ticket items that you have on a property? Well, it could be lots of things, right? Maybe in the next 10 years you want to put siding on your house, okay, or the next 5 years. So you could budget for that over the next 5 years, where you set some money aside for capital expenditure. Let's say you want to pave your driveway. Let's say you want to redo some concrete work or whatever. It could be lots of things. The typical things that you're going to see, though, are going to be related to your roof, your furnace, and maybe your appliances, maybe your windows, maybe a driveway, but something along those lines. But generally, it's almost related to those top three, which is roof, furnace, and water heater. So that's what we're going to focus on tonight. Okay, so here I am. If you look at the screen, I'm going to go ahead and enter this stuff in as we go. So what you want to do is you want to think of the useful life in this first this first column here. So for HVAC, a typical system may last as many as 20 to 25 years. We're going to go on the long end of that range. We'll just say 25, but keep in mind many systems are going to obviously need maintaining along the way. That number, the maintaining part of it, would be coming out of the repairs and maintenance part in your repairs and maintenance line item on your cash flow analysis, not CAPEX. This is strictly for replacement of those systems. So let's say that the length of the use, or the expected life expectancy out of the HVAC system, is 25 years. Out of a roof, let's say that you can expect 30 years. Out of a water heater, at the long end of that might be 12 years, okay? So now, let's say that you're getting into, again, this is analyzing the cash flow on a property as you are getting ready to buy it. So it's not like, this is not something you do basically for an existing property unless you are trying to allocate money down the road. So in other words, let's say you just replaced the water heater today, and you want to start budgeting for 12 years out when you're going to be replacing that again. Sure, you could do that. That makes sense. Or let's say you're not already allocating that money and you want to start allocating money to when you're going to have to replace the furnace, right? But that's fine, but understand the most ideal time would be to do it when you first are picking up the property, and that's how you analyze a cash flow, or analyze the cash flow on a property before you buy it, right? You don't want to get into this afterwards. You want to know what you're getting into before you buy the property. Okay, so the age of the HVAC system. So let's pretend that you're getting ready to buy the property, and the age of the HVAC system is 5 years at this point. So you have 20 years remaining of that HVAC system, okay? So the roof, let's say it's got 8 years on it, you've got 22 years remaining, and then the water heater, it's got 2 years on it, you've got 10 years remaining. Okay, so now you're going to want to budget for what an HVAC system would cost. Now, obviously, 20 years from now, you're not going to really know what an HVAC system could cost. You could probably mark it up, try to do, a basic number. You're just going to have to wing it a little bit. So let's say right now a full HVAC system might cost $7,000. You can add up, basically, compound it over the course of the 20 years. Maybe it's going to be $8,000 going in. I have no idea. Let's just call it $8,000. All right. So we'll say $8,000. What this means is you would be allocating $400 a year towards replacement of the HVAC system 20 years from now, which breaks down to $33.33 monthly. That's what you would put on your that's one piece of the capital expenditure you'd put on the line item. Let's say, for argument's sake, the roof might cost 10 grand, so in 22 years it might cost 12 grand. Okay, again, you're just going to have to kind of pick some numbers a little bit out of the air, with inflation. That would be $545, and then the monthly cost would be $45.45. So, and then finally the water heater, it's going to be 10 years out, so you might say it would normally cost you $1,000. We'll say it's $1,500. I realize for those of you in California, you're probably going, oh my gosh, there's no way these numbers would work because you'd have to multiply this times 3. I get it, because everything is expensive out there. Well, then, sorry, you picked an investment in a state that is really expensive. But that's what you'd have to do. You'd have to multiply, and you have to make the numbers work, and then try to estimate how much more it would be, down the road. Okay, so these are the annual numbers, and this is the monthly numbers. So the total monthly numbers of $33.33 for HVAC, roof would be $45.45, and the water heater would be $12.50. All adds up to $91.29. Now, that's the number that I would put in my capital expenditure line on my cash flow analysis. Many times what I see is people, they just come up with a number like 5%. Well, that means absolutely nothing. What if my rents on that property were, $800, okay, or $700? So I'm going to have 5%, which would be a $35 capital expenditure line. That's not nearly enough. It drives me crazy when people are just putting in basic percentages, flat percentages for a capital expenditure when they're not really giving any idea of what the actual analysis is. Now, if I was going to be looking at a property that might be a little thin, I'd want to go and really break this down to say, okay, well, how old are all the appliances? Would I ever want to, do capital expenditure project down the road where I might want to replace cabinets or upgrade windows, or maybe actually put siding on the house or upgrade the siding, things like that. Any sort of capital expenditure project that you could see doing down the road, where maybe you want to pave the driveway that's not currently paved, and that might cost $5,000, and you want to start allocating for it now. And even if you're owning a project, or you're owning a property right now, and you have a project in the future that you're thinking about allocating, you might want to start allocating that money now, not down the road. That way it's not such a big hit. Now, would I put this money in an actual account? Yes. Yes, you absolutely would, because you're going to be too tempted to spend it. Even though you're allocating the money in your cash flow, you'd actually want to set that money aside in a capital expenditure reserve account specifically for that property. You could commingle the funds, I suppose, but I would get really, really cautious to make sure that one property, say I wasn't allocating enough and I ended up taking some away that belonged to another property. Again, I would want to make sure that that's nice and clean. I don't really like setting up a bunch of different bank accounts because that just becomes a giant headache. But as long as you can keep the money and the funds separate on some sort of spreadsheet or allocation or wherever you're keeping it, whether it's in QuickBooks or in your property management software, that would be fine. But I just want to make sure that you are making the allocations, so when the time comes to replace the water heater, you've got the water heater replaced, you've got the money to do it, and it's not a big deal. Okay? Now, one other thing that I would say is, I can see people would say, well, yeah, but I want to put all of my funds to work, and I'll rely on lines of credit. And I will tell you that that's probably what got me into the biggest trouble back in 2009, and that's why I lost several $1 million worth of real estate, because I did not allocate enough money, set actual dollars aside to do CAPEX and repairs and maintenance. In fact, I didn't even do that in my calculations. I was wrong. I should have been doing it, and I didn't. So make sure you're doing this calculation. It only how long did it take us? Maybe 9 minutes to even explain it. It would take you even half of that just to plug in the numbers. plug in accurate numbers, and you know exactly what you're looking for in your cash flow analysis. That's all I have for today. If you are interested in a membership, please go to the Landlord Coach page and go ahead to the landlordcoach.com/members, and you can look up the what a membership would look like, see if it's something that would be interesting to you, and I will look to see you on the inside for a lot more content just like this. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Please remember, if you don't place a value on your free time, someone else will. Take good care.